Hey YouTube, it's Matt with thos Reptiles, and before I start this video, I'm going to tell you to like, subscribe, go check out our Patreon. We're going to get more depth of things on Patreon, as always. But this is a video, you guys seem to really like the business type videos, and this is a business type video. It's also not, but it is. I'll let you chew on that for a second. What I'm talking about today is, I think it goes beyond the snake hobby. I'll show you how it affects us, like what I'm talking about in the snake hobby too, with some animals here. But this probably is in every hobby you do at a high level, whether it's athletics or whatever, you know. And there'll probably be an athletic reference or two in here as well. But it's the difference in our successes and our failures, you know. And I think as humans, the vast majority of us, me included, have a tendency to focus on our failures more than we do on our successes. You know, and that's because I'm not an asshole, and I'm going to guess you're not an asshole either. And most people who aren't assholes tend to be somewhat humble. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes we're braggadocious jerks, right? But at least I am. But most of the time, I try to be a humble individual. So then, when something goes really well, rather than stand up on a chair and proclaim to the Lord or the world how much of a badass I am because I did X or I made Y or I did Z or I did this, I tended to deflect a lot of that success, and I tend to deflect it onto others. I tend to, you know, I don't want to really take a lot of credit. You know, I've said 1,000 times how lucky we are to be where we're at, which is true. You know, we deflect a lot of that. But then when we fail, and something goes wrong, I tend to put that entire weight on my shoulders, right? So when something's amiss, like an animal dies or whatever happens, I blame myself completely, especially I used to more than I do now. And it hurts and it weighs on me. And there are times I've thought about stopping or quitting or getting out or you know, or whatever, because it's just not worth it. It's not worth feeling that way, yada, 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 yada. And I'm going to imagine some of you watching have felt that way before. I'm going to imagine some of you watching probably have felt that way recently, or maybe even feeling that way now because something has gone south. And if you want to see it, you can look up a video from back in the day where we were getting ready to film, and I opened up a tub, and this killer zebra bee I made had died. Just randomly died. No warning, no rhyme, no reason. And I felt like somebody had kicked me right in the man parts. And if you're a guy and you've ever been hitting the man parts really hard, where it feels like your man parts are now located just below your sternum, and you want to get up on that little ball and vomit for a while, it's kind of how I felt. And that low felt a lot lower than the actual success of making that animal. So what we have to do in this hobby or in this business is we have to change your brain. You have to change your brain to focus on your successes. And the way you do that is when something bad happens, because it's going to happen. You're going to fail, man. You're going to fail. And somebody's going to see this title. They're going to hear me say that, be like, oh, there he goes again, telling people they can't be successful. No, that's not true. I'm telling you, you can be successful. You can be successful in spite of your failures. This is how you do it. Because you got to be ready to get past that hurdle, man. You got to be ready to move past that failure. So when you fail, when it happens, when something goes wrong and you're blaming yourself because you didn't clean enough, or you missed something, or you didn't get this done in time, or you didn't realize this was going on and something happens to the animal, or whatever you think is your fault, here's what I tend to do nowadays. I come over, come here you, and I find one of my successes, right? This little girl here is one of my successes. You know, and she's special because I lost a male zebra bee after he was around for several years and bred, and I think this is actually his lineage. You know, this is one of my great successes to me. I showed on one of my favorite snake videos. Why? How perfect the spider is. Of course, it's that zebra bee, which is kind of a fly. One of the things I dreamed of making when I first started. She's just perfect. Perfect in every way. So I can take this, and I can look at that and say, damn, you know, for all my failures, I did this right. This one thing I did right. Oh, but it's not just this. There's 100 more I did right. There's 100 things I can look at. I can go back through some comments and see where I helped somebody and feel good and know that I've been successful. As a matter of fact, I know when I start looking and actually thinking, sorry, little girl, didn't mean to scare you there, and not just letting my emotions run my life, right? Those emotions of that recent scar, that recent pain, that recent failure. When I stop and I think, and I get an animal like this out, or I start looking at some other animals, or some of the babies, some of my holdbacks from this year, I'll show you another one that makes me feel this way. These are going to be snakes, like I've seen these before. Yeah, I tend to film with my favorites. I mean, it is what it is, right? Where are you at, you? Woohoo. Hey now. You are being a little fireball today. Let's not do that. She's being a little bit of a cantankerous girl. She just wants to eat, I think, is what she was hoping I was going to do, is put some food in her tub for her. But this little girl here, look how cool that is. I know nobody else in the world has a snake like this. Doesn't exist, because that really cool paradox. I'm the only human being on the planet that has this animal, or an animal that looks remotely like this, which is really, really cool. So this kind of success, all kinds of stuff, and I know that these successes and these feelings far outweigh the failures I've had. I also know I'm going to have more failures. But for every failure there is, I'm going to have a lot more successes. So I choose where my focus is. I choose to take my failures. I allow myself to feel them. I allow myself to feel bad about it. I allow myself to learn from what I think maybe I did wrong if I think the cause is mine. And then I put it away. I learned. I felt bad. It's time to put that over here, focus on my successes, and go continue to do good. Because I'll tell you, I think the hobby's better off with me in it. Maybe not. I think I'm better off being in the hobby, so there's that. So I'm going to stay in it whether it's better with me or not. But I think the hobby's better with all of us because it grows the hobby. There's more opinions, there's more thoughts, there's more things to learn, the more of us that are doing it. So me saying the hobby's better because I'm in it isn't because I'm great. It's just because the hobby's better with you in it too. And so I want people to stay in this despite of their failures. Social media tends to focus on our failures and try to make us feel like shit about them. Stop for a second and ask yourself, why is that? Why would social media want to make me feel like shit about failures, or you feel like shit about failures? Well, it really doesn't. It's not going out to make you feel bad. But when somebody else sees a failure, and some of these folks are not very large of mind or emotionally intelligent enough to understand what they're doing, if they jump on that and they sit there and they get to talk smack and talk about how terrible you are and how they would never do that and how you shouldn't have this and you shouldn't have that, by putting somebody else down, they tend to try to make themselves feel superior, which is like, it's like lighting a leaf on fire to get warm, okay? Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of warmth there, but it's going to burn out really quick because you're not really improving yourself at all. So don't focus on those folks. They're not there yet. They'll get there. I hope they all get there. What you got to do is focus on what you've done very, very well, right? Don't bite me in the face. We're buddies now. I'm talking good about you. And you've got to let those failures go. But by letting them go doesn't mean you forget. I remember a lot of my failures. I've learned from a lot of my failures. And a lot of the successes I have, I couldn't have if I didn't have the failures. You just can't let them dominate your life, guys. When you let a failure push you out of a hobby before you're ready to be gone, you leave because, an animal you really love died, or because you just, something happened, you feel like crap. There's going to be times you're going to have to leave, or hopefully there's not, but for some people there is. I know, Jeff has had those points and other friends of ours have had those points. They've had to get out for financial reasons or whatever, but they get back on their horse and they ride. If you really love this and it improves your life like it does mine, don't let anybody push you out. Don't let your failures push you out, but don't repeat them. Do your best to learn from them, right? And you can do this. That's a positive aspect. If you focus on your successes, you learn from your failures, and you move one foot in front of the other, constantly moving forward a little bit till you're at the point you want to be, wherever that is, because it ain't my job to tell you where you need to be. I'll leave that to other people who think they know. You're going to be just fine. That's what I can tell you. I can also tell you that there are people like myself who will be here for you. If you get a chance to talk to me, I'm always going to be supportive of almost anybody, even when they screw up. I know a lot of people who have screwed up, and I've even been like, yeah, man, that was a total fuck up. I cannot believe they did that. But you know what? Hopefully they figure it out. Hopefully they move forward. And while I only hear about the screw up, they have probably done 100 things right, you know. So you got to just, you got to focus on that. Kurt, anything you want to add about this?
A little saying that I think kind of goes with this, and you can repeat it, is the highs are never as high without the lows.
So for those who couldn't hear, because the way the camera works, Kurt wanted to add a little saying that kind of sums up, which Kurt's really good at doing. He's good at summing up in like 7 words, shit that takes me like 10 minutes to say. And that's the highs are never as high without the lows. And that's very true. And that, I think, is a very big aspect of what I'm talking about. But just don't let those lows own you. You just got to train yourself how to focus. And that's hard, you know. It's not natural for most folks. And I told you to make some athletic reference. I want you to think of a cornerback. For those of you who are football fans, you know, you take a cornerback, and their job, or even a quarterback if you want to go on offense, but a corner's job is to defend the pass. Well, you know, those receivers are good at catching balls. And a quarterback may throw a pass, and the receiver caught it. Damn, you know, first down. And if he just focuses on that, he's going to be a really shitty corner. You know, but if you're a good cornerback, it's like they forget. It's like they have amnesia. They forget the dude just caught the ball, and then they'll make a play down the road. Maybe they make the big interception, or maybe they break up a pass. I've seen some corners, I'm like yelling at them from the TV going, what the hell's wrong with you? You're an idiot, because they get burned 3 or 4 times, and they break up one pass, and they're celebrating like they just won the Super Bowl. And I'm like, dude, you sucked all day. But the fact is, that's a dude right there who's focused on his successes, right? He had 4 failures, learned from them, made one successful play, and that's what he's focused on, and he's going to make another play. If they focused on their failures, they'd be so down in the dumps, they would never get out of it and never achieve. Same with a pitcher in baseball or a hitter in baseball. If all you do is focus on your strikeouts, you don't get to be Babe Ruth and hit how many ever homers he hit. He struck out a lot, like a shit ton. If you look at that dude's stats, he was like, struck out all the time, but he also cranked a shit ton of dingers and got a lot of the ladies. That's because he focused on his successes, not on his failures. So that would be my recommendation. Be a guy hitting homers, focus on those successes, learn and let those failures go. And maybe one day you'll make an animal like this. Maybe you already have. Hell, I don't know. But you ain't ever getting this one, because this girl will stay with me forever, I hope. Because she's freaking amazing. For those that don't know, banana mahogany paradox female. Beautiful, beautiful snake. Kurt, anything else you want to add?
Nope.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to put this up. We're going to go to Patreon. We're going to expand on this a little bit, talk about some of my personal failures, some of the ones that define me that I had to move on for those that are new and don't know, because there's some major ones. So if you want to know how bad I fucked up, can't say that, YouTube gets mad at me. If you want to know about how bad I fire trucked it up, come on over to Patreon, and there I can say whatever word I want. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.